If you need to get a read on someone as soon as possible, body language is not the way to do it. My name is Brian Galke. I help entrepreneurs, sales professionals, and industry leaders accurately judge a book by its cover. For over 15 years and across more than 80 stages, I've been teaching the skill of face reading, also known as physiognomy. This is the key to building rapport with others, closing more deals, and learning how to motivate your team. In this video, I'll show you how body language is flawed and reveal how decoding faces will give you the upper hand. What is body language? Body language is the original language that was there. Before we had words, before we had individual languages all over the world, the only way to communicate was with our hands and with our bodies. You could tell when somebody was scared, somebody was hungry, when somebody felt confident, wide shoulders back. It's the original language that was there. That's why when you hear the famous study, 7, 38, 55, what is it referencing? Only 7% of communication is the actual words that come out of our mouth. So you can say any word you want, but it's how it's delivered that other 93% comes in. So what's that other 93% broken into? 38% is how we say it, the tone. You can ask why or why, same word, but the tone and the delivery is how the message is received. That's where the 38% comes in. And then the other part, I actually did part of it, I was using my hands and my body language at the same time. So if we ask why, that 55% is, oh, they're asking a question. Why is they're pointing blame, literally pointing blame, right? So it's funny is when you listen to our words that we use, like pointing the finger is literally we're describing body language, just like we do with faces. Now, body language is good. If you go to any bookstore, there's shelves on it because it's been studied at such length and everybody has a little bit of a different opinion on it, but it's taught on a grander scale than a lot of things are. When I was in high school, in my psychology class, we covered body language basics. In college, I'm a communications major. I'm a psych minor. I had courses on body language that went more in depth. And ever since then, like being the introvert, I've always picked up books, and body language books are everywhere. And so you can see I even keep a few on my bookshelf here to constantly reference when we're talking about things. But the challenge with body language is twofold. One, it's a reactive skill. You have to be in the room watching what is somebody's baseline, and then when do they deviate from that baseline. So you can't do anything in advance. Not only that, over Zoom, guess what you can't see? Where are my arms? Where are my legs? Are they crossed? My legs, not my arms. Are my arms crossed? Are my hands in my pockets? Am I hiding something behind my back? You have no idea because over Zoom, we prioritize just the face of people. Now, people who have studios like I do, you can take your mic back. Body language can come more into play. We use it here. When you see those type things, it's a little bit different. But the reality is most people do Zoom calls just like this, where this is all that you can see on someone is this much of the real estate. And body language does not help you there. And when I say it's reactive, look, there are tons of reactive skills that you need to learn. Statement analysis, reactive. Body language, reactive. It's still a decent skill, but it's not the skill that you really want to focus on first. If you want to gain an immediate advantage of face reading, I've got a free cheat sheet on the 3 types of eyebrows that you can go and download. And then you just start paying attention to the people around you and start figuring out, how would I communicate and understand that person? What if you could understand someone before you engage with them, before you ever even met them? Well, the good news is you can. If you learn how to decode faces, aka physiognomy, you can go and look up people on LinkedIn. You can go then move over to social media. Why do I do that? Because LinkedIn is usually headshots and most times are outdated. And right now, the current trend is AI headshots, which means it's not even a picture of the person. What does that do? Look, I'm all for AI headshots. I have fun. I post them, put them on social media, but you don't want them as your main profiles. Because what happens is we're in what's known as a trust recession right now, which is we don't believe what we see. And the minute that we see an AI photo, we automatically start discounting people. So I start on LinkedIn, but then I move to social media. Why? Because I want to see recent, real pictures of the person. Especially if somebody else takes a picture, they're tagged in it, versus a selfie. Why? Because there's not that many filters. Yes, there are things like Facetune that are out there and other things, but you get a more accurate picture than a head-on headshot that was done by somebody, and you don't know if the photographer inverted the image, which you'll learn what that means later on. But when I go and look people up, I can start figuring out, based on the 150 different features and combination of features, how do I talk to that individual person? And when I say individual person, it's because everyone's face is like your fingerprint. Everybody has a unique face and facial features. Yes, even identical twins, same genetic code, raised in the same household, but who we are is only 60% genetics. 40% from the minute we're born is what's known as epigenetics. Epigenetics is how does the outside world impact us down to a DNA level. So what I can do is, if I know who I'm going to meet with, all I need is their email address, where they work, a social media handle, you name it. And I can go look up the person ahead of time, start figuring out, how does that person want information presented to them? Do they want to hear it? Do they want to see it? How much time am I going to have to spend with them? Should I keep it strictly business, or are we going to get a little personal? All these things are revealed on the face long before you ever meet the person. So we practice everything else before we meet with somebody. When I was in sales for 14 years, we tested the projector, our PowerPoint, everything else, but we can never prepare for the people that were in the room until I learned this skill. And that's what I love about it the most, is it was the first proactive skill I'd ever run across. And the good news is it's reactive as well, but it allowed me to go in, I'd read the face first, then I'd read the room. They're both good skills, but what the difference is, you have to learn the proactive one to read the person first and then pay attention to what's going on. So when you learn to read the face, it can be both ahead of time. If you looked them up on LinkedIn, social media, the About Us on their webpage, you name it. Even when you're in the room with somebody brand new, as they're walking towards you, you can do a quick checklist of how do I need to talk to this person? Where are we similar and where are we different? And then you can start changing your communication to make sure you're speaking part your language and part their language at the same time. Now, body language is still good. Once you're in the room, you then establish what's known as a baseline. And that is, what is the person's mannerisms? But if this is your first time meeting them, you're not going to know that. But you can still pay attention to several body language things that are going on in the room. Are they leaning away from you? Are they leaning towards you? Are they sitting back there with their arms crossed? Well, arms crossed isn't always bad, but if they quickly cross their arms, that ain't good. So there's definitely, you need to pay attention to body language. You need to be able to read the room with what's going on, because that's just as important. Like we talked about before, words are only 7%. How they're said, 38%. What their body's telling you is the body doesn't lie. We're taught white lies all the time. Oh, you look great. Oh, you look fantastic. You name it. So we think about the words that come out of our mouth, but our bodies respond instantly. So if you're already in there and you've gone in and you've learned to decode their face ahead of time to understand how to talk to them, how to speak their language, particularly business, do you get personal? All these things you can figure out about them. Then you're free to pay attention to what's going on in the room at the same time. That allows you to truly focus on the person, which is a lost art this day and age. So do a combination of the skills. Learn to read the face, then learn to read the room, and you'll be unstoppable. Subscribe for more videos on decoding faces and improving communication.